Welcome to Azure Marketplace One-on-One, a series of short videos on Azure Marketplace. The idea here is to help you understand Azure Marketplace and guide you through selling your solutions on Azure Marketplace. My name is Mayur Tendulkar and I am a head of capability at Rapid Circle India. You can reach out to me on my social media coordinates displayed on this page. So, let's get started. Consider a scenario for this video. Let's say there is an entity called Rapid Circle, aka RC, which is a publisher of the software. They have built a fantastic solution for employee reimbursements. So, for example, when employees travel for work, they can claim for lunch, they can claim for travel, they can claim for stay, etc. So, employees can file for reimbursements, manager can approve or reject the claims, and then later on employees will get paid through their payroll or out of payroll cycles. There is another entity called Rapid Square, aka RS, which can be a customer, and that entity wants to use this solution for their organization. So all the employees of Rapid Square can use this solution to file for the reimbursements. Now this could be a simple software as a service solution, right? For example, Rapid Square can simply go for search, find out Rapid Circle solution called Employee Reimbursement Central, something like that, and they can subscribe to it and they can start using it. But let's wait and see what are the challenges. There are further requirements from publisher side, which is Rapid Circle. They want to have a full control over resources that get deployed. They want to protect their IP, certainly, and they don't want their customers to poke around and play around with the resources that get deployed. For example, it could be web application, it could be application insights, it could be the databases, all the resources that gets deployed. As a publisher, Rapid Circle wants to have a full control. They also want to sell this software as a service, that is a subscription-based service. And they are looking for a recurring revenue by charging monthly fee per user. For example, they want to charge, let's say, $5 per user per month. That includes the licensing fee, which is for their intellectual property. They also want to include the infrastructure cost, if any, for example, running databases, running web applications and all that. And they also want it to build directly to the customer. They also want to take benefits by selling through Azure Marketplace. For example, if as an ISV, if as a publisher, if Rapid Circle publish their solution on Azure Marketplace, they may get some benefits like go-to-market benefits. Microsoft may write blog posts for them. Microsoft will probably promote their solution to their customers. So they definitely wants to take benefit by selling it through Azure Marketplace. On the other hand, as a Rapid Square, which is a customer of the Rapid Circle, I want to process, I want to store the data within my own tenant. So I may be storing it in Azure SQL, I may be storing it in Azure table storage or anything, but that entire thing I want to reside in my own tenant so that I will have the control over it. Also, I may have certain agreements with Microsoft for which Microsoft may have given me discounts. For example, if say I'm burning $1,000 on Azure, Microsoft may give me discount on, let's say, virtual machine pricing. So I want to use my own resources from my own agreement so that I get benefit for the infrastructure cost. So these are the requirements as a customer for the solution. Welcome to Azure Managed Applications. They provide best of both the worlds. In the Azure Managed Applications, resources are provisioned in customer environments. So if a customer already has an agreement with Microsoft, they can use the agreed upon infrastructure resources for this application. So take the benefit of the discounts that they already have. Also, these resources are managed by the publisher. So publisher can lock down the managed resource group so that customer cannot add new resources to that managed resource group. Customer cannot delete the managed resource group or the resources within that managed resource group. Customer can only go ahead and delete this application. That means unsubscribe from the Azure Managed Application. Also, there could be an option to bill through a metered approach. For example, there is already an option of asking for monthly billing. So as a Rapid Circle, I can charge Rapid Square monthly, let's say $1,000 monthly licensing fee. But then I can also charge on different meters. For example, one meter could be per user. That means number of users onboarded on the employee reimbursement application. Or I can charge for number of transaction each user is doing on per month basis. Or I can also charge on the amount that is being processed. For example, if suppose I am actually dealing with the bank and processing the entire transaction end to end, if the transaction amount is, let's say, more than $100,000, I can ask for 0.5% or 0.2% fee for that transaction because it's a high value transaction. I can do that. So there are, as I said, so there are different metered approaches that you can decide as a publisher can decide on. Here, both publisher and the customer gets benefited from Azure Marketplace. As a customer, it is easier for me to go ahead and search for the applications in the Azure Marketplace. It is easy to subscribe to it. These are transactable offers. So as soon as you purchase, you can start deploying and using it without, the entire process of registering a vendor and all that stuff. It is also helpful for the publisher because when publisher publishes the application on the marketplace, they may get benefits like GTM, Azure credits, etc. from Microsoft side. So both publisher and the customer gets benefit from the Azure Marketplace. Now let's visualize how the entire solution will look like on the customer tenant. Consider this is a customer tenant which is Rapid Square, and they are having this particular subscription where they want to purchase the employee reimbursement solution. Now this subscription can already have different resource group where they might have different resources already provisioned depending on the business unit, depending on the technology, depending on the solutions that they have built, anything. So let's assume for the sake of it that they have already deployed some resources in different resource group. When they procure the solution from Azure Marketplace and start deployment, a managed resource group is created and all the resources are deployed within this managed resource group. See the nomenclature. This is different from a normal resource group. Resource groups are typical resource group in the Azure environment, Azure subscription where you have different resources. However, this is called as a managed resource group because this resource group is being utilized or being managed by the publisher itself. Let's assume a web application, Azure Functions, SQL database, log analytics, workspace, application insights, Azure Monitor, maybe if required, virtual networks, Azure front door like services. These can be deployed in this managed resource group using something called as ARM template or BISEC templates. If you observe carefully, I have put user icons at Entra ID, at managed resource group and resource group level. They are in different colors. The green color ones are the publishers and the red color one are the customers. So green color, that is the publisher, has access to the managed resource group, but they don't have access to the resources or the resource group which are outside the managed resource group. So as a publisher, I can deploy the resources. I can manage those resources, upgrade those resources which are there in the managed resource group. However, as a customer, which is a red icon, as a customer, I can only read or I can only view the resources that are there, which are deployed in the managed resource group. I cannot add new resources. I cannot remove resources. I cannot delete resources, or I cannot modify anything from this managed resource group. The only option that I have is delete the managed application so that this managed resource group also get deleted. That means everything within this resource group gets deleted. How it is possible though? Basically, when you publish the application on Azure Marketplace, you can add authorizations in your plan. So here you can see there is a concept called as publisher management. You can click on enable management access. That means as a publisher, you will have access to the resources that are deployed in the customer environment. There is also a concept of just-in-time access where you can ask customer or customer can provide you just-in-time access if you want to deploy anything or if you want to modify the solution which is already deployed in the customer environment. Typically can be useful in the support scenarios. For the management access, what you need to do is provide the tenant ID of the publisher in the tenant ID space, and you need to add the principal IDs, which is nothing but the user IDs from the publisher's Entra ID. So for example, I want to have access of contributor or owner. I can put my object ID over there and I can select the role. You can add as many as you want, that is max 100 authorizations are allowed. By default, customers have read access, but you can go ahead and restrict access with deny assignments as well. That means customers will not be able to modify anything within this managed resource group. You can also allow specific customer actions by providing specific templates over there. That is also possible. So once you do that, when you submit your solution onto the Azure Marketplace and when customer buys this solution and deploy the solution, as a publisher, you will have access to the managed resource group to perform deployments, to perform patching, to perform actions like modifying the resources and as and when required, update these resources. However, customer will have only access to read the resources and check what is deployed, what resources are deployed and how they are performing, and what is the utilization of those resources in that managed resource group. To explain other topic related to the Azure Managed Application, when you submit it on Partner Center, there is a concept called as metering API. So here we can define the metering for our solution. As you can see, I am charging $1,000 USD per month, which is going to be my base price for each organization. So all the organizations that subscribe to my offer will have $1,000 charge per month in their Azure invoice. However, I am also adding a meter, which is user license fee, which is going to be charged for each individual user each month, and the price for that is 5 USD. Monthly 100 users are included in the base price. That means $500 worth of user licenses are already covered in the $1,000 USD per month amount. So you can do the calculations and you can add further metering if you want. So for example, I can have, as I said, another meter which is for, let's say, the number of transactions user is performing. So per user number of transactions, or if suppose I want to charge on the value of the transaction, I can do that as well by using this metering dimensions. Once you define the meter in Partner Center and customer buys your solution and deploys it in their tenant, you can go ahead and raise a meter. You can do it manually through Postman as well, or you can do it automatically whenever certain activity happen. For example, in our case, we are charging $1,000 monthly base price and 100 users are already covered. If suppose 101 or let's 101st customer gets registered or gets added to the solution, we can go ahead and raise a meter. So for that particular user, $5 will be charged to the customer. Or let's say 100 extra users are added, so we will charge 100 into 5, $500 extra. How to do that? First, you need to go ahead and get an access token. So this is the REST API endpoint. I will share more details in the description of this video. So first you need to go ahead and get the token, and using that token you need to send a post request. The body of this post request is in front of you, where you need to provide the resource ID, which is nothing but the ID of the managed application that gets deployed in the customer tenant. You can go to your subscription as a publisher, search for managed applications, and there you will see all the applications that are deployed in the customer environment. So you can go to that managed application, get the resource ID and put it over here. Then you need to mention the quantity. So if there is the after 100 users, any extra users that are there, you can add the numerical value over here. The dimension is nothing but the dimension that you have defined in the plan in partner center, which is user license fee. Effective start time could be the time when the event actually occurred. For example, organization added a new user, or they onboarded 100 new users. So whenever a user is added, you can go ahead and trace this meter. So the time at which the users were added, it could be that time. And finally, the plan ID is the plan ID which is defined in the partner center. Once you raise this meter, Microsoft will give you 200 OK response. That means it is accepted, and Microsoft will, at the end of the month, most probably will go ahead and charge the customer and then pay you back. The entire life cycle or the billing cycle and how Microsoft charges the customer and pays you back as to the publisher is well documented in the documentation for Azure Marketplace. Finally, I just wanted to cover that as a customer, you can see we can host the infrastructure and save data within our own environment. We can pay directly to Microsoft for this infra and get discounts, if any, as per the agreement that as an enterprise I have with Microsoft. I can also, as a customer, pay license or agreed fee to the publisher, or use the metering and agreed upon fee I can pay to the publisher, as publisher can raise the meters. As a publisher, I can control and protect the IP that gets deployed in the customer environment. I can have deny assignments for the customer. I can have just-in-time access provided, so that I can go ahead and patch, update the application that gets deployed in the customer environment. I can charge customer for base price or for specific meters that are that I think will be suitable for my application. And I can also get discounts, benefits, if any, from Azure Marketplace. For example, the GTM benefits, the marketing benefit, Azure credits, etc. that Microsoft can pass on when I publish my application on Azure Marketplace. We are at the final slide. Thank you for watching this video, and I have put more marketplace content on this URL. You can go ahead and watch it. If you have any questions, if you need any help, please post it in the comments, and happy to help. Thank you for watching Azure Managed Applications video on Azure Marketplace one-on-one.